Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Freelancer Live. Happy fall, unofficially. It is fully fall in the Coles household right now, so that's happening. Okay, I am just going to pin my guest today, David Perlman. He'll be coming on in a moment. If you've never been here before, I always come on 1 minute early just to make sure that my connection works because my internet can be all over the place some of these days. Oh, look, he is here. I'm so excited. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring him in, even though it's not 2 p.m. yet. I think we are so ready to meet David. I'm so excited. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. Hello. It's so good to see your
Good to
face.
see you too. Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this so much. I feel like we haven't really actually had the chance to have a full discussion. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to hear more about everything. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
But how are you?
I'm good. I am wearing my faux leather jacket and my fall booties, and I've got a fall candle going, and I am just like so excited for the season. So I'm doing well.
I'm really impressed with that. I'm wearing a button down and shorts and nothing on my feet.
Are
So
you a summer person?
I love the summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I love the heat. I know. I don't know. I love the summer. But I love the fall and I love the spring too. I don't love
Yeah.
the winter. But
Okay.
I tolerate it.
Are you a summer baby? Is your birthday in summer?
It's in May, so like
Okay.
spring-ish, but yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Well, yeah, my birthday's in December, so I think I'm like built to be in cold weather
Yeah,
or cooler weather.
that makes sense. Oh,
Well, good. I'm so happy to have you today. I am just going to give a quick intro of what this is for anybody who is new today, and then I'm going to read your awesome bio, and then we'll jump into just hearing more about you and what you do.
all right.
So, welcome everybody. This is Freelancer Live. This is an Instagram live series that I started back in May, specifically to chat with freelancers, gig workers, and small business owners about their stories, their lives, what they do. I was just super inspired by seeing everybody's experiences during COVID and kind of how they were coping, and just really wanted to hear what everybody was doing and how they were sort of making life work during this insane time. So David is my first male guest. This is awesome. I've literally only talked to women so far, so I'm really excited to chat with you. You are very special to be my first male guest.
Yeah, thanks.
And so I'm going to read your bio real quick and then we're going to jump in. So, David is a New York City based wedding photographer and owner of David Perlman Photography. With a strong emphasis on superior customer service, David creates photos that celebrate joy and emotion in a very natural and candid feeling way. David is committed to creating and supporting a sense of ease and joy throughout the entire process. So welcome once again.
Thank you.
Of course. Why don't you share with us a little bit about sort of the story of David? How did you get to where you are today? What were you doing before you were a photographer? Let us know.
Yes, okay. So, first of all, I also have to warn you that I have a thing on my phone where it limits the amount of social media that I do, and I realized I forgot to turn it off. It kicks me off. I'll be right back.
Do you want to take a second to turn it off? You're
Well,
welcome to.
I don't know if I'm going to lose you if I go into my settings right now. I can
You
try.
know, go for it. Go into your settings. I'll fill some space.
Okay, and maybe
Um, okay, so while David is turning off his social media timer, let me just give you a little bit of a background on how David and I met. So we were both asked to do a wedding vendor panel back in June about just wedding vendors' experiences during COVID and how we've been navigating this time. And so we were mostly focused on what the customer, all of that. Um, and then we sort of talked about like, what do our contracts look like? Are we making people pay a rebooking fee and all of that stuff? And David and I just totally clicked because of the fact that both of us have been super, super interested in paying attention to customer service. We both focus on that like 100%. And so that was huge. And the fact that we both sort of treated our clients the same way just sort of made us click. Plus, David's energy is like so positive. Okay, there you are. Yay. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for vamping. Like, ground line fail right away.
You know what? That's like the life of being a performer, right? You sort of get used to like, okay, let me just fill this space until I remember my lines or whatever. Okay,
Speaking
but
of which, I like binged the musical Monday memory thing.
yeah.
It was so great. Like your tips are so helpful and so well thought out. And then I have to say I love the bloopers. The bloopers are so much fun. Like the two of you are just amazing.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah.
Thank you.
But okay, so back to the schedule. So basically, where did I come from? How did I end up here? That's the question, right? So, growing up, I actually always was that person who just loved taking photos of everything. Like, I just, at summer camp, I was the person going around making sure I got photos of everyone. And like, I used to be an actor when I was a kid, so I would always be taking photos backstage. So I've always just loved taking photos and like capturing memories. But I actually went to school for film and TV production for college. So I was kind of like thinking I would be a filmmaker, but I started professionally acting while I was still in college. I ended up like booking some really exciting things and like, doing musical theater because that really is also a love of mine.
Yeah.
So I was a professional actor for like 18 years after, or during and then after college. So I was really
Wow.
just like musical theater, like I did stuff on Broadway and tours and, like all over. And I was like, this is my life. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm in love. This is it. But I kind of remembered that I liked photo shoots. So I started doing headshots for my friends, which was kind of the perfect side gig because like
Oh
I
yeah.
could go at night and then during the day I could like do some headshots. And that kind of grew very organically. And that was really fun. It was like a perfect, complementary like profession, I guess, to have
Yeah.
while being an actor. And I loved headshots. I loved interacting with people. I loved like the thing about a headshot is you just really want to capture somebody's energy, right? Their vibe. So like I just loved it. Um, so then when my husband and I got married, and a few friends had been like, "Do you ever do weddings?" And I'm like, "No, that's terrifying. Like it's so much
Yeah.
pressure, like no." Like I'm not a wedding photographer. Which honestly, now that I am a wedding photographer, was really smart of me to say because it's not just something you can just do one day. Like
Yeah.
it is a lot. A lot goes into it. But anyway, my husband and I got married, and our wedding was just so amazing, so magical. Like, one of the best days ever. I just loved it so much. And our wedding photographer was like, he knew that I was a photographer, and he was like, "Have you ever thought about doing weddings?" And I'm like, "No, I mean, not really." He's like, "You should just, if you're interested, just come like shadow me on a wedding, just like see what it's like." And I was like, okay. And he even like followed up with me and I was like, all right, fine. Like, what do I have to lose? So I went to a wedding with him and it was really cool because, I had fallen in love with weddings. I've always loved weddings. But
Yeah.
there was this moment where it was time for the first look, right? We were with the bride getting ready and it was time for the first look and he was like, all right, like everyone, leave. And like her mom left and her bridesmaids and her best friends, everyone left the room and I got to stay. And the groom came in and like we like hid him behind a thing and I was actually the person who like revealed him, and like they looked at each other and she started crying and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we're married. Like this is it. This is the day. I love you so much." And I was like taking pictures and I was like, "I can't believe I'm here right now. Like this girl's mom was kicked out and I am here." And I was like, I like was like, I want to be here for these moments for people. Like
Yeah.
this is really, really special. So that's when I started kind of getting interested in wedding photography and I started doing weddings and then at a certain point, I was like, I don't want to go on any of these auditions. I don't want to do any of these shows. I just want to photograph weddings. So now I'm a wedding photographer.
Oh my goodness. I love, love, love that story. And I love how like connected you were to that moment and knowing what a sort of privilege it was to be sharing in that special moment.
Hmm.
I think that that's one of the most special things about being a wedding vendor is being able to experience those really those memories that like very few people will get to experience, or noticing those little looks or moments between the couple that especially as a photographer you get to capture. I mean, that is so special.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I'm totally addicted. I mean, I love people. I love love. I mean, it's so cheesy, but like
Yeah.
I really do love what I do, and I feel like it's such a privilege to like get invited to people's weddings.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
need to spend more time with them than their guests do, you know? It's
That
really,
is amazing.
yeah, it's pretty.
That's true, especially the photographer. I mean, like, we're a wedding band, so we come in for, ceremony, cocktail, reception, but you spend like early morning, like getting the makeup on all the way through the very end of the night. I mean, that is so special. You get to see every moment.
It really is, yeah.
That's so cool. And I know one of the biggest things that sort of drew me to you from the beginning that I was sort of just riffing on when you were turning off your social media timer, is the fact that we both have a huge love of and focus on customer service. And I would love to know. I mean, I know you like love people. You're a people person. I was reading your website. You were voted friendliest, right, in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
That's so clear why you were voted friendliest. I would love to hear sort of, was there ever like a moment that sort of solidified that major focus in your brain? Or was it just sort of like something that was important to you from the get go?
Um, it definitely was very important to me from the get-go. I mean, like the way that I started, like the first wedding I did, I was super honest with them, and I'm like, I had second shot. I had been the second photographer for a bunch of weddings with my wedding photographer actually. So I had experience enough to where I felt really confident shooting their wedding, and it was like a smaller event, you know. But I was really honest with them about like where I was, and I obviously gave them a price that reflected my experience level. So they
Yeah.
were, so just right from the start, it wasn't like I was, just from that very first wedding, I was like, I just want to do an incredible job for them. Like I just, so kind of from the start, I was always very focused on my couples, my clients, their families, just making sure they're all very happy. But it has become clear to me, like, as things are going on. I know a lot of wedding vendors, rightfully so, spend a lot of time and energy on getting new clients, right? So like on like blogging and creating content and like advertising, which like is part of business, right? But I just kind of realized even that I would rather put all of that energy into my couples that I currently have.
Yeah.
How can I serve them better? How can I like be better for them? And so that's where I get my referrals, is from my couples and from other wedding vendors who like, so it has become, it was always a natural thing, but it's become even more clear that like I'm just most interested in how can I spend my energy towards the people who are already paying me and already wanting something like
Yeah.
really special, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that it comes naturally too, because it does not to everybody. So that's also really special and says a lot about you as a person.
Oh.
Um, I loved hearing a little bit when we were on that vendor panel together about how you've been managing the 2020, let's say, in general,
Oh my
and all the changes that have come along with it. And I would love to hear, I mean, a couple things. So, like, riff on this whatever way you want to, but I'd love to hear sort of your process with your couples and how you sort of navigated that, especially given the fact that you're so customer focused. And
God.
then on top of that, something I've said a bazillion times, and every time I like message you at all, it's about your positivity and how infectious it is. And I'm curious to know also throughout this time, do you have like a mantra you live by? Like, where does this well of positivity come from? So, like, I'd love to hear on both of those sides, sort of the practical, like, business logistical side, as well as sort of how you've managed mentally and emotionally during this time.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet of you to say. I appreciate it.
Of
Um,
course.
in terms of how I've managed with, the business and, everything that's been going on this year, I have to be honest, when it first started, mid-March, I was kind of one of those people that was like, all right, like, is this going to be a few weeks? Like, is this going to be a thing? Or, and
Yeah.
so I did struggle a little bit because some of my like May and June couples were like, we kind of want to move. And in my head, I was like, oh, I feel like it's like maybe too soon, But I very quickly wrapped my head around the fact that like people don't want to move their weddings. It's not like everyone just like in June is like, I'll just move my wedding because why not? Like
Yeah.
people have, by the time they've told me they want to move their wedding, it's like they've been through a lot. So
Yes.
I very quickly was able to realize, like, you know what, like, if people want to move their weddings, they're gonna, like, yes, of course, I want them to have the best experience possible. It goes back to like just wanting them to have this be an easy and joyful journey from start to finish. And they're already dealing with coronavirus, which is neither one of those things. So
Yeah.
I make sure to just make it as seamless as possible. So I did struggle a little bit at first with, all the changes that were happening. But then I was able to refocus and say, okay, like that's, this is what it is. And like, we'll just go for it. So,
Yeah.
that on that vendor panel, like I didn't charge anyone any rescheduling fee, or I didn't, update them to my current pricing, none of that. Like, if you want to move to a Saturday next year, take it. It's yours.
Yep.
I've just been like, let's get through this. Let's make this an amazing experience. And again, it came back to these are people who've already paid me money, who are already trusting me with this really important, day and
Yeah.
experience and task. So like I'm not gonna be like, well, I need that Saturday because if somebody else wants it, like
Yeah.
no, these are people who have already invested in me. So like I'm there for you. So that,
Love that.
once I kind of like grasped that, it was like it was very clear to me. Um, and then in terms of my like positive attitude, which I really appreciate you saying,
Of course.
it's funny because it's like it's the kind of thing where in my real everyday life it serves me really well, but then it can also be annoying, right? Like, my husband, if he's having a really crappy day, he doesn't want me to be like, it's okay, everything's fine. So like
Yeah.
in real life, I I can't just always be that way.
Yeah.
And then of course, I have days where I'm like not happy or, things are going on. I am pretty quick to like flip it, which I know also can have its drawbacks, right? So like this like eternal positivity is great in many ways, but of course it's not
Yeah.
always so great. But what I love about my job is that I can exploit it and pretty much like it's okay, I'm your wedding photographer, I'm actually allowed to always be happy and excited and positive. So like
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's kind of a great fit for me because I'm able to just like let myself be that way, with my couples at my job on a wedding day. Like I feel like you want that in a wedding professional, and if you don't, then
Yeah.
you won't hire me. So like
Right.
it, so, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I see it.
Yeah. Oh, it really does. And it is also important to remember too, like, of course, I am saying this from the perspective of mostly, since we haven't had an in-depth conversation, seeing your Instagram and seeing all of the like positive, wonderful, amazing things that you talk about and your perspective on things. But like, yes, we're all human and it's been a tough year. So I'm sure there are moments that are like a little difficult and it's good that you can turn it around. But yeah, it's been a weird year. So if you have those moments, it is a-okay.
Totally, totally.
So I want you to talk about this thing that you do after every single wedding. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. That is equally like as awesome as it is morbid. And can you share with everybody what that is and why you do it?
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about. So I am really very serious when it comes to your wedding photos and to making sure they're safe. And like, most photographers shoot on double memory cards and back up your photos to the cloud and back up on multiple hard drives. And I do all of that stuff. But the thing that I that I know you're talking about is I'm just so paranoid because I'm like, okay, what if I shoot your wedding island and then I'm driving home to New York and I get into a terrible car accident and the car goes up in flames and all your wedding photos are lost forever? Like, yes, I'll be dead. Like, you can't sue me, but like, that would suck for you and I care about
Yeah.
you. So I take a self-addressed stamped envelope to every single wedding that I go to. And before I leave the venue, I shoot on double memory cards. So I take the backup memory cards, put them in the envelope, and put it in the mail. Or like leave it with the venue or give it to the planner or like, not have it be in the car with me. So I drive home with the primary memory card that I use. And so if I crash and die on the way home, the memory cards will still reach my apartment and I also have an in-depth backup plan for what my husband is to do with them
Oh
afterwards.
my gosh.
Like it's serious. But I feel like I owe that to people. They like, they're entrusting me. They're trusting me at the end of the day and I, want to do everything I can to earn that. So
Yeah. Oh my god.
did
Someone's like, oh my god, that's insane. Another
I
photographer. Oh, I think I lost you a little bit. Hold on. Okay. Are you there?
Oh, am
Okay.
I back? Am
Wait
I
a
back?
second. You sort of are, but you're cutting up on my end. Let
I
me
think I'm
see.
back.
Can people tell us if
I
you
think
can
I'm back.
hear me and see me? Okay, yeah, you are, but you're cutting up a little bit on my end, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going.
No. Okay, okay.
It honestly could be me and just seeing you a certain way because my internet is all over the place recently, so goodness knows. Um, okay, I think you're back enough. But yes, that is insane commitment. And I saw that and I showed my husband right away. I was like, look at this. Like this is like so insane and amazing and like really a testament to your level of customer service. Like, whoa, it's crazy. Good for you.
Well, thing. I do think that there is a way, and I know some wedding photographers, where you can upload it to the cloud right at the venue. So I'm just not technological enough. So, people do, but I do think the majority of people don't do anything like that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's such a cool thing. It's like a very unique thing about you and your own business and like just how like who you are that like you care this much that after the longest day ever, which every wedding is, like you're going to take that extra few minutes to send yourself these memory cards. Like that's really awesome. So
Oh, well,
I would
thanks.
love to, oh yeah, of course. I would love to hear a little bit about, I know that you went to school for, or now I know that you went to school for like film and TV production, which is really, really cool. So how did, when you then made the switch to musical theater and then made the switch back and started doing photography, but then starting your own business, like what was that process like? And what was the most challenging thing, do you think, in terms of like starting your own business?
That's a great question. To be honest, it was very organic. I didn't, even with headshots, I didn't sit down and say, I'm going to be a professional headshot photographer now. I literally just
Yeah.
took my husband's headshots and like some of my friends for free. Our friends were like, oh, who did your headshot? David. And then I charged them like $50 or something. So like, and then I just like worked it from
Wow.
there. Yeah, so it was like a very organic thing. It was never like, I'm going to start a business. And weddings were kind of the same way. It was, I didn't just decide, wake up one day and say, I'm going to start a professional wedding photography business. It just kind of happened where like that first wedding was actually a headshot client of mine recommended me to her dance teacher or whatever. And, then once I got that wedding, I blogged about it, and then somebody else recommended me for another wedding, and then I was just starting to shoot a bunch of weddings. And so it was kind of an organic thing. I will say a challenge in the first year or two, and I still struggle with it, is just like the amount of work that has to get done. And I know you can relate
Yeah.
to that.
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, there's so much that goes into this, there's just so much. So that is something that, like I said, can still be a challenge of how to balance that out. Like the things that I truly love about what I do, which is the photography itself and the connection with my couples, and then the things that I don't love as much, and how to, make that all work. I would say that's kind of the biggest challenge. And this whole pandemic made me again see like what it's like to not have a busy schedule. And there are things that are really nice about that, as someone who pre-pandemic was like scheduled every hour, like just
Oh yeah.
nonstop, go, go, go. Like, no, I don't have time for anything, It's so that is, I think, the biggest thing is how to find that balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing that too about the how the pandemic has sort of started to reframe your thoughts around your own schedule. Can you talk a little more about that and sort of share what you've what you've come to around that topic and what you're going to potentially change moving forward in your own, like, let's say, work-life balance or integration, to sort of make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question that I'm asking myself right now because I am starting to get busier. Like August was a very busy month for me. I had 8 weddings in August.
Wow.
Granted, they were all, 2 or 3 hours of coverage, and it was, in someone's backyard or like an elopement in Central Park. I feel very lucky as a photographer in this industry because people want photos. It doesn't matter. They may not have, a band, and they may not have a caterer, and they may not have whatever, but they want photos. So I feel like I'm in a very lucky position in terms of the wedding industry for sure. But yeah, August was a busy month for me for work. I'm still not really socializing, um, because of everything that's going on. So like, but I am starting to feel like, okay, like things are getting kind of busy again. And how do I want to maintain a little bit more of that balance? And to be honest, I still am figuring it out. I think certain things like my therapy, I think will stay on Skype forever.
Yeah.
Because, it's 50 minutes of therapy versus like 2.5 hours of like travel and getting there early and then whatever.
It's a
So
lot.
like certain things I'm like, and I don't know. I think it's also just keeping in mind the things that I have had more time for, namely my husband and my parents. I've been spending a lot of time with my parents. Like that's just been, it's just been so amazing. And so just keeping those things in mind and not letting myself fill up my schedule with all this stuff that at the end of the day isn't as important to me?
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
can totally understand and agree. I think that for myself and so many people during this time, I would almost say, especially in the wedding industry, simply because our jobs tend to be 7 days a week. It's like work during the week, communicate with our clients, do all the social media and the blog posts and all the things that you kind of do in the industry. And then you're at weddings on the weekends and then you start over again. And I think that it's easy to get into that sort of on that hamster wheel of like, okay, this is my life, this is what I do, and this is how it works. And then sort of lose sight in a way, like, deep down that family is important and time for self-care is important and all of those things, but then actually making time for it is the hard part. So I think being forced, especially at the very beginning of this whole thing, to actually take that time was a big eye opener for a lot of people, once again, including myself, to just say, like, wait a second, I think I need to, like, make some time for myself because I feel better. I feel more energetic. Like, there's something
Yeah,
to not being exhausted all the time.
there is. Yeah, there really is.
Yeah, so
So
that, I mean, it's amazing.
yeah, I'm still though, that's going to be an ongoing question because I know myself and I know when things someday are like open, it's going to be, it's going to be the same challenge of saying no to things that I kind of want to
Yeah.
do. you
Yes.
know?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. Drew and I, my husband and I, keep talking about the fact that we're plate fillers, is what we call it. So, like, if our life is a plate and there's an empty spot, like, we'll find something to fill it, even when we are like, so busy and don't actually have time for anything else. So, I think that's going to be a struggle as well on my end. We'll have to connect on that and share help because
Definitely.
it's so hard sometimes when you actually have that time again. I think now, same thing, now that things are picking up. It's like, but now I'm just filling all the time that I had before, and there is no time left. So,
Right.
yeah, it can be crazy. So, we are at 2:30. I usually do these for about half hour. I cannot believe how fast these go. It's insane. Like, how is a half hour gone already?
No, it's
Um,
so
I know it's so fast, but I would love for you to sort of, if you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with anybody, literally on anything, or some advice for business owners or wedding vendors during this time, and then also share where people can find and follow you. So your website, your social media tags, so people can follow along with all of your adventures.
totally. I think, um, it's been a tough year for everyone, obviously. I think something that has been helpful, just stay connected to why you're doing this in the first place. It sounds so cheesy, but like, whether it is about the connection with the cutting to you and or do like I obviously love photography so much, obviously, but to try to stay connected to why you're doing what you're doing, and but there is also with everything that's going on, it's like we do innovative, if you're already an entrepreneur and a business owner, you got here by creating something. So now you might have to create something else. Like I did, I had always sold albums, but like during when I was in my apartment for 3 months, I sold so many albums to my past couples, and it was a win-win because they wanted their albums, and I was able to like find something to do and some way to like have some business.
Right.
I know, yeah, I don't know, but in terms of where you can find me, that's a really easy question. Um, I'm on Instagram, David Perlman Photography, and Perlman is Perlman, not Pear. So David Perlman Photography on Instagram, David Perlman Photography on Facebook. My website is davidperlmanphotography.com. So pretty much that's how you can find me.
Amazing. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you see this comment, but Denasia commented some pearls of wisdom with the way your name is spelled. So I think you might need to use that.
I
Something moving
like
forward.
that. Thank you. Maybe if I start a weekly Instagram thing, it'll be Pearls of Wisdom or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
And I do
I did
want to,
love your. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I just want to thank you so much for having me. Uh-oh, I don't know if I'm frozen. But I want to thank you so much. You're like one of my new favorite quarantine friends. Since we never met in person. But like your positivity and like how helpful you are and how much I know you love, truly amazing and inspiring. So I love like being a small part of your journey and getting to see all that you're doing. It's really awesome.
Aw, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And I am really looking forward to staying connected with you now that we've sort of more officially connected. Um,
Yeah.
and Thank you so much for being with me today and for giving us your pearls of wisdom. I love that. And thank you to everybody who watched today. I'm so happy that you all joined. Thank you for your comments and your hearts and all of that fun stuff. It was so great to have you. Have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thanks again, David. And I will be back next week with another Freelancer Live. So I'll see you there. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
David.